Welcome to World Prism. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. Donald Trump has always thrived on chaos, but as 2025 ends, that chaos is catching up with him. The problems are piling up: legal battles, policy fallout, and a public growing weary of the turmoil. This isn't just another news cycle, it's a reckoning. Trump's actions are no longer just political theater, they're having real, painful impacts on millions of Americans. Each attempt to consolidate power only creates more problems, like a Jenga tower built on spaghetti. The courts, Justice Department, and even basic government funding have become battlegrounds. Now these battered institutions are starting to push back. This essay will explore Trump's legal war, his Supreme Court battles, weaponization of the Justice Department, radical criminal justice policies, and the gutting of social programs. Together, they reveal a presidency in deeper trouble than many realize. Let's start with something fundamental: food. Specifically, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, which is often a lifeline for millions of Americans struggling to put meals on the table. SNAP is the nation's largest anti-hunger program, and it keeps 42 million Americans from going hungry every month. Children, seniors, working parents, and people with disabilities all rely on it to get by. But in October 2025, a government shutdown sent shockwaves through the system, throwing SNAP funding into chaos and leaving families unsure if they'd be able to afford groceries. A federal judge ordered the Trump administration to keep SNAP running with whatever funds were available, but the administration fought back, appealing the order all the way to the Supreme Court. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson stepped in, granting a temporary pause on the order. That decision left millions of vulnerable Americans in limbo, not knowing if their next meal was guaranteed. Some states scrambled to fill the gap, launching emergency food programs and mobilizing volunteers, while others stalled or offered little help, turning hunger into a cruel postcode lottery, where your address could decide whether you ate or went without. At the same time, the Supreme Court is also weighing another high-stakes case: Trump's sweeping 10% tariffs on imports, imposed under questionable emergency powers that bypassed Congress and rattled global markets. A federal appeals court has already ruled that Trump overstepped his authority, but he's betting that the Supreme Court's conservative majority will side with him and uphold his actions. The conservative justices now face a profound dilemma: should they defend broad presidential power, or draw a line against government overreach that could set a precedent for years to come? A ruling against Trump could dismantle a core part of his economic agenda, sending a message that even the highest office isn't above the law, and that the court won't always back him, no matter the political stakes. Trump's justification for the tariffs is flimsy at best. He even targeted Canada, America's close ally, over a television ad he didn't like, raising eyebrows across the political spectrum. The Supreme Court's decision could either validate Trump's sweeping use of executive power, or deliver a devastating defeat that reshapes the limits of presidential authority for generations. The stakes couldn't be higher, not just for Trump, but for the millions of Americans whose lives and livelihoods hang in the balance. The Department of Justice under Trump has become more than just a law enforcement agency. It's now a tool for punishing enemies and rewarding friends, wielded with unprecedented political force. Once seen as an independent guardian of the law, the DOJ's reputation has shifted dramatically, raising alarm among legal experts and the public alike. In late 2025, the DOJ indicted critics like James Comey and John Bolton, both of whom had previously clashed with Trump and spoken out against his administration. Their indictments sent shockwaves through Washington, signaling that dissent would not be tolerated. The crackdown didn't stop there. The DOJ even targeted a Federal Reserve Board member who refused to resign, further blurring the line between justice and political vendetta. This isn't justice, it's intimidation, sending a chilling message to anyone who might consider crossing Trump. Face federal retribution, no matter your position or record. The chilling effect is real, eroding public trust in the impartiality of our institutions, and making ordinary citizens question whether the law still applies equally to all. Instead of uniting the country under the rule of law, these actions have turned law into partisan warfare, deepening divisions and fueling suspicion on both sides of the political spectrum. Meanwhile, Trump's pardon pen has been busy, erasing convictions and granting clemency to those who have shown loyalty or usefulness to his cause. He pardoned January 6 rioters, political allies, major donors, and others who supported him, regardless of the severity of their actions or the evidence against them. Even reality TV stars and celebrities with personal connections to Trump have found themselves on the receiving end of presidential mercy, further blurring the lines between justice and favoritism. Each pardon sends a clear signal: loyalty trumps the law, and connections matter more than accountability, creating a two-tiered justice system that undermines the very foundation of democracy. This blatant cronyism disgusts not just political opponents but also many within Trump's own party who worry about the long-term consequences for American democracy. Ordinary Americans who believe in fairness and equal justice are left feeling betrayed, wondering if the system can ever be trusted again. The abuse of power is staggering, and it's fueling a powerful backlash as citizens take to the streets demanding accountability and reform. The DOJ's transformation is a stark warning. Justice is becoming a weapon, not a safeguard, and the consequences could be dire for generations to come. If justice is no longer blind but instead serves those in power, then the very core of American democracy is at risk, and that's a threat none of us can afford to ignore. Trump brands himself as the law and order president, but his approach in 2025 is about control, not justice. He ended the federal death penalty moratorium and pushed for harsh mandatory minimums, reviving failed tough-on-crime policies. Policing became more aggressive with expanded powers and less accountability. He even took over the D.C. police force, giving them free rein. Federal oversight of police abuses was gutted, and private prison contracts returned. Pell Grants for incarcerated students were cut, and prison phone calls became more expensive. Transgender inmates were targeted with cruel policies, only blocked by a federal judge. The result? A harsher, more punitive system that prioritizes punishment over fairness or rehabilitation. This brand of order comes at the expense of real justice. The Trump administration hasn't just imposed harsh policies, it's dismantled programs that work. Over $11 billion in grants for substance use and mental health treatment were slashed, even as crises worsened. Violence prevention programs lost funding, and states ending cash bail were threatened with cuts. The message: only punishment, never prevention. Grants for organizations improving prison conditions and supporting domestic violence victims were rescinded. Transparency was gutted. Databases tracking police misconduct were shuttered, and data on what works was suppressed. Even questions about gender identity were stripped from crime victim surveys. This isn't just defunding, it's erasing evidence and making real solutions harder. The victims are those who rely on these services for safety and support. It's a deliberate effort to create ignorance and maintain control. Perhaps most alarming is Trump's disregard for due process and judicial independence. These are not just abstract principles, they are the bedrock of American democracy, ensuring that every person, regardless of status, is entitled to a fair hearing and impartial justice. Under his administration, hundreds of immigrants were deported without legal process, even in defiance of Supreme Court orders. Families were torn apart, and the basic right to challenge detention or removal was often ignored, leaving many with no recourse. The administration sent a chilling message by arresting a Wisconsin judge who stood up to them. This unprecedented move shocked the legal community and raised fears that judges could be targeted simply for upholding the law. When judges fear the executive branch, the concept of a fair judiciary is at risk. Judicial independence is essential for checks and balances, and its erosion threatens the very idea of justice in America. Senior advisor Stephen Miller even floated suspending habeas corpus for undocumented immigrants, a leap toward authoritarianism. Suspending this centuries-old protection would mean people could be detained indefinitely without ever seeing a judge. These aren't isolated incidents, they reveal a pattern of treating the law as an obstacle, not a framework. The administration's actions consistently undermined legal norms, sending a message that rules could be bent or broken for political gain. The result is a profound constitutional crisis. When the executive branch disregards the limits of its power, the entire system is put in jeopardy. The legal troubles Trump faces are about more than his conduct. They test whether the system can withstand a president bent on dismantling it. The resilience of our institutions is being challenged in ways not seen in generations. The stakes are nothing less than the rule of law itself. If these norms are allowed to erode, the consequences will echo far beyond one administration. This is the deepest trouble of all, a threat not just to the present, but to the future of American democracy. Where does this leave Trump? Besieged, not by conspiracy, but by the consequences of his own actions. His legal and political troubles are a fundamental clash with the nation's legal foundations. By weaponizing justice and inflicting harm on millions, he's created opposition far beyond his usual critics. The Supreme Court may soon deliver a major blow, signaling limits to his power. Every move to consolidate control backfires, draining resources and public goodwill. The institutions he's attacked are beginning to hold the line. This perfect storm of legal woes may finally be his undoing. The reckoning now unfolding could decide whether anyone in America is truly above the law.